In this video, we are going to be looking at duplicate names in tables, views, and what we're going to be doing here is we are going to try to create a table with the exact same column names as we see. It's going to be oname and oname, and we can already see, by the way, from IntelliSense it's throwing an error, and so because it's not going to let us do this, and it's going to say, of course, that column names in each table must be unique. Oname is specified more than once, of course. And then we're also going to try to create a view. And I saw this the other day where somebody attempted to do this. This will also throw a similar error. It says that the column names must be unique. Part of the reason why I think this person attempted to do that is if I were to run this select query, you'll notice that these columns are all the same exact names. And even if I remove the OID for each of these, it would be, object ID, object ID, object ID. It would output that. And so more than likely the individual thought that, oh, since I can run a select query like this, more than likely I can sit there and I can create a view like this. And that is not the case. I don't, with, source control checks, I'm not sure how that was managed to be checked in or whatnot. But it is a note that on tables and views, they're, each column name have to be unique. And so that's one of the things that I just make sure, yes, you can run a select query where it's the same, and there are many reasons for this. Another thing as well, in fact, we'll actually do this. This will actually pass if I do this a little bit differently. Let's do, I'm going to live code, which you're never supposed to do, by the way, so just as a note. Let's do name. Actually, let's keep it OID, but let's do this instead. Let's get rid of this. And let's call this, let's get rid of this, and let's get rid of this. And what we'll do is we'll create a table, and this will pass, I'm pretty sure. I'm almost 100% sure. If I do name1 and I do name2, except what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to big int, and I'm going to change this to big int. So these are really not names. Okay, now, and the reason for this that I'm doing it this way to demonstrate is because some people may create duplicate names, not because they're trying to create duplicate names, but there might be a repeat column when they flatten out data. So if I do insert into my table, and I should be able to create it now, and I can just do these values. So if I create this table, it will pass, and then if I insert these values, it will pass. And if I then select star from my table, I will see these values. And the reason for that, of course, I created another object, so now there's more of them. And the reason for that is pretty straightforward, because even though these are the same names, and we can do that in the select query, we are inserting it, right? So if this table wouldn't allow us to create it if the names were exactly the same. So even though these are the same objects, we can select it from the objects. But the reason why we can't do that in the view is because it has to output as different. In fact, even if I try to do this in Mongo, let me fire up MongoDB right now. But if I try to do this in Mongo, then I'm almost 100% sure I'm going to get some type of error. In fact, it will be interesting to see. So I'm in Mongo shell. Let's use test. Okay, db test. All right, let's do db dot new. We'll do new collect dot insert. And what I'll do is I will create. We'll just do name to make it easy, and we'll call the name John. And then we'll do another column field. Sorry, called. Switching between terminology here, John. Okay, and let's do, actually, let's do a third. So let's do name again, and then we'll say John. Okay, and so we do that. All right, now if I do db.new collect, it actually wrote it, but I have a feeling something it's not good. Surely it's not going to output this. Yeah. So even though it wrote this here, when we see, so MongoDB is politer. It doesn't call me stupid, but it doesn't allow me to be stupid. But when I actually search for when I search the collection, I just see name John, and that's because there's redundancy. I think if you take in Excel, if you take a column, let's say you have two cells with the same names and you turn them into a table, I think what it does is it renames the second one or iterates it so it's like name 1 and name 2 or something like that. But even Excel doesn't allow you to create a table with the same names, the last that I looked. Now, granted, depends on which version of Excel you're using. I'm sure there might be some differences. But we can see even with MongoDB, it didn't throw an error. I would have thought it would have thrown an error, I guess. But what it did instead is it just said, oh, you have triple values that are exactly the same. This is the same on each of these. By contrast, let me go back to here. If I were to name these each unique, then we would see where that's different. Whoops. Well, that would, but if I do this, now if I do find, we'll see it. And that's because those field names are different. So yes, it's true that you can run a select query going back to this with the exact same names. And it's even true that as we see, we can do an insert because of that select. But when we start creating tables with the same names or views with the same names, we're going to start having problems.